Hey guys, Will Terry here, and this video is going to be called Dealing with Complaints on My Kickstarter. Before I get going on that, just some updates. Just got back from Palm Springs Comic-Con and got Salt Lake next week, so back to back. And that's exciting, and it's a lot of work, but it's also fun because I get to meet a lot of people and make some more money. Money's always good, right? And so just a few things I was going to say. So a few people picked up their Kickstarter books down in Palm Springs. And I extend that invitation to anybody in the Salt Lake area or anybody that's going to be attending Salt Lake City Comic-Con. I'll have all the stuff there. So all you need to do, if you've supported my Kickstarter, the little Kickstarter, and I'll put a link to that so you can check it out if you missed it, is when you come to the booth, pull it up on your phone, what pledge level you're at, the email from Kickstarter, just so you can show me, and then we'll gather your packet, and whatever prints you got, and we'll send it with you. If you don't want to pick it up there and you want it shipped, that's fine too. You can stop by and say hi. And I do want to mention that because I keep getting asked by tons of people, if they can, they missed the Kickstarter, can they add on to it? I apologize. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I am too busy to run an online store. I'm too busy to take orders. I just have way too many things going on with svslearn.com, with my freelance work, with the conventions and some of the other projects I'm involved in, and family and all the other stuff. My son's getting married this month. I simply can't do it. It's just too much to keep track of. If I did take orders, I'd screw half of them up, and I'm not going to do it. So I will be announcing future conventions that I'll be at, so you can always get one there. And then what I've decided to do is maybe a year, maybe 6 months or a year from now, I might just decide to do another mailing, which time I'll just announce on all my social media. And if I have time, then or if I hire an assistant or something like that, maybe I'll just have them collect it all and organize it all, and then we'll do another mailing down the road or something after I've kind of learned when I'm going to send out the books for this next one. It's a lot of work. But I love my life. I love my jobs. I love doing what I'm doing. And, but I just want to head it off right now. That's the number one thing I'm getting asked right now is, "Ooh, I missed your Kickstarter. I'm seeing the book. Can I add on?" Not right now. Maybe later. Okay. So, also just to report, I'm not going to add this to the playlist of, my Comic-Con playlist, but if you're interested in how I've done, my 1 year anniversary is going to be this weekend. This is August 30th, so the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of September is actually my 1 year anniversary for doing conventions. I am going to make a video on that one because it's like 1 year later, and so you can compare and contrast how we did a year before. It's amazing what you can learn in a year, even when you're an old guy like me, 50 years old. It's totally amazing how much I learned doing this. And that's why I've always said, we pay a lot of money to go to school, to college, and college is great for certain things, but it's not great for giving you real world experience, and there's no substitute for just rolling up your sleeves and doing it. And a lot of people say, well, is it worth it to do Comic-Con conventions, and is it worth it to do this, is it worth it to do that? If you compare it to how much you're spending on college education, I'd say so, because even if you don't make any money, you're learning, and learning is the most important thing. The more you know, the more you've learned, the more you can actually make good decisions and turn those decisions into money. And at the end of the day, that's some of you guys, like, I get made fun of by some people like Mr. Mel Milton, who calls me Money Will and stuff like that. I mean, money, like, you've heard me say this before, money is life. If you don't have money, you can't live. So I just look at it as I like to gather more life, and our family needs it. We've got sick people in our family that have autoimmune diseases and all sorts of stuff, and I'm sure you guys have a need for money as well. And money gets a bad rap. Sometimes people get vilified for going after the money, but I mean, money is life, plain and simple. So we made in Palm Springs. I'm not going to put this on the playlist, but we made $5,100 there. Far cry from Denver. We made a lot more there. You can go back and check out the video on the playlist on that one if you want to. So Palm Springs is about a fourth. I would say it's about a third or a fourth of the size of Denver. Definitely looks like it's a fourth of the size of what Salt Lake's going to be next week. But still a great convention. And I did want to say, and I know this is not what the video's about, so I'm sorry, if you're trying to get with dealing with complaints on my Kickstarter, but I run this as a vlog, and I just kind of give updates, and then I get on with the topic. So, just real quick, I want to reiterate, like, we had a really crappy spot. We were against the wall. There was no one on the other side of the row from us. That's a horrible place to be. We kind of cheapened up. We chose to go for a really cheap space. It was a booth. It was our first booth outside of Artist Alley, and we wanted to see what it was like. And it was great. People treat you differently, I think, when you're not in Artist Alley. They kind of look at you more as maybe more of a legitimate product, not as much of maybe an amateur is kind of what we felt. Not to say that if you're in Artist Alley, you're an amateur by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, next week we're going to be in Artist Alley. But being against the wall, big mistake. Wayne and I both feel like we would have made anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 in Palm Springs if we would have been in a row that has people on both sides. Every time we'd go to the bathroom, we'd come back, we'd see those rows packed with people, our row pretty vacant. And I think that is because human nature is we want to be where the action is. And the other thing is if you see a bunch of people in a store all fighting over something or all getting something, you kind of feel like you're missing out. And we had a hard time generating that feeling being in the outlands, being in the, in the sparse territory. It just was really hard to kind of generate that crowd. Luckily, we did have this booth that does caricatures who was drawing a lot of attention next to us, kind of on the side. It's hard to describe, but that really helped a lot. But from now on, we're always going to pay more money to get to the center. I think the center's where it's at. Sometimes you can't help it. You're going to get stuck on the outside. But anyway, for what it's worth, I'd like to just kind of throw that in there. And if you're going to be in the Salt Lake area, hope to see you this week. Again, August 30th, 2016. Okay, so let's get on to this topic. I got an email, or I got a message on my Kickstarter, and I wanted to read to you. I'm going to leave the name off, but it's a complaint message, and I always feel like whenever you see a complaint message like that, there's probably 10 to 50 people that feel the same way, but they're just not willing to voice it. They're not willing to step out and actually say it out in public. And so this is it means a lot to me when someone's complaining, because they're trying to get my attention, and as a business person, I want to listen to that. I want to take that into consideration and see if there's something that I can do. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts on it, and then that's going to be it. But I would also love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. So it says, I've just seen on Will Terry's Instagram account that the books are totally completed, and he is selling them in comic conventions as we speak. So he's talking about Palm Springs, the one I just got back from, because that's the only convention I've sold the books at. In fact, I just got them last week, just a few days before we left for the convention. He goes on to say, he even says our books won't be shipped until late September. I made an update on Kickstarter saying when I was going to ship out the books. Why are the people who made the book a reality getting it second? Doesn't make sense at all. I think an update and collection of delivery details are due. Okay, so to the person that wrote this, and for anybody who feels the same way, I hear you completely. I totally hear you. And it is a very legitimate concern and a very legitimate complaint. I thought about this. I thought, like, how would I feel if I supported someone's Kickstarter? I went out of my way to go on Kickstarter and put money out there that where I would have to wait a long time to get the product, and then I see that person selling the product before I've gotten my copy. Like I was there first, and now this person who doesn't even know about the Kickstarter is now benefiting from the fact that I put up the money to then help them create the product. It is a problem, and it's not fair. It's not. I can't justify it. But I will tell you, I will give you some information that might soften it a little bit for what it's worth, and maybe it won't change your opinion. But I am sorry if you feel like I've disrespected you, or if you feel like I have done something wrong. I'm apologies. I'm not making any excuses I'm not making. It's not that I'm not making excuses, but I don't want you to feel like I'm invalidating your feelings, because look, our feelings are our feelings. We feel the way we feel, and that it doesn't always. We don't always have to be right, or it doesn't always have to be justified. That's just the way we feel. Okay, so the first thing is I want to say, I've written down some notes here, is I want to remind you guys that what I promised to do was to produce a book. This is for the Kickstarter, right? So on the Kickstarter, my video, and in the details in the description, I promised to produce a book called Little, with 100 characters in it, with fine printing and good quality and all that stuff. Soft covers, hard covers, all the prints and everything. And then to deliver those by September 2016 was the estimated shipping date. Now, let's see, I'm just kind of reading right here. So half of the promise has been fulfilled, which is I've produced the product. The other half of the promise will be fulfilled when I ship out. My plans are that I will be shipping towards the end of September. It might go a little bit into October, but again, from what I understand, as Kickstarters go, a lot of people are sometimes 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, even a year late. Some unfortunately never get produced at all. I am working as hard as I can to make an organized effort to ship these books like I said, at the end of September. And it might spill into October a little bit. But there are a few things that happened, so I just want to make you aware. This is not. You could file. I guess you could file it under the excuse category in a way, because if I could get them out earlier, like if I could drop everything that I'm doing right now, I would get them out earlier. You have to understand. I committed to going to Palm Springs Comic-Con many months ago. The same with Salt Lake City Comic-Con many months ago. It's very hard to schedule the finishing of a project, the launching of a Kickstarter, the sending all your files to a designer, having them, because it's out of my hands when the designer's got it, having them. I gave the designer a month. The designer took a week and about 2 weeks instead of taking a month. So I built time in. I gave the printer 6 weeks. The printer took 3 weeks to produce the book. So everybody got their stuff done sooner. So I ended up with books in my hands long before I thought I would. Never thought I would have them in time for Palm Springs Comic-Con. Didn't even think I would have them in time for Salt Lake City Comic-Con. And then lo and behold, they just kind of fell in my lap. Another thing that kind of happened in this time is two other things that happened that I couldn't plan for when I launched the Kickstarter is my acceptance of the Penguin Random House children's book, picture book that I'm doing right now, which is a huge project. And the fact that my son is getting married in the week after Salt Lake City Comic-Con, so just September 10th. And that is, if you have a kid get married, it throws your whole timing off on everything. So I'm having to spend a week getting ready for that. And so that's why, those are the basic reasons why I'm not dropping everything right now and haven't already shipped the books out. It's just that all these things are coming up. I'm in Dallas the week after that at an SCBWI conference where I'm speaking there. I committed to doing that about 9 months ago before I even launched the Kickstarter. So those are kinds of things that I wanted you to know. The other thing I wanted to say is, I could have chosen to leave the books at home and not take them to Palm Springs and not take them to Salt Lake City Comic-Con. That's a judgment call. I knew that it would make some people upset because they're going to see those books going out before they're getting their copy. And I think some people will probably think that's a mistake. I made the decision to take them down there to sell them because, quite frankly, it is hard to support yourself as an artist. And I look for every advantage I can to make every dollar that I can count, to get every dollar that I can so that I can continue to support my family. And if I had that decision to do over again, knowing that I would get complaints, I probably would still do it. I want you to know how much I appreciate you and your support for supporting me on the Kickstarter. I hope you will understand that if I were in your area, you would have the book in your hands right now. If there was anything that I could do to give it to you first, I would have. But quite frankly, those opportunities, we sold 57 books in Palm Springs. And maybe another thing I'll let you in on is sold about 600 or 700 books. I've tallied it, but it's somewhere in the 600 to 700 book range on Kickstarter. I printed 3,000. And so now I have a lot of basically all the profit that I would have made off of Kickstarter is sitting in my garage. And that's a liability. And the reason I did that was to be able to leverage that Kickstarter into making more money selling books at conventions. It is a very scary thing to have that much money sitting in my garage right now in the form of books. Anything could happen to them, water damage, fire damage, anything like that. So I really feel the urgency to get those out there. And again, if it offends you that you supported the Kickstarter and didn't get your book first, I understand. I fully understand. And for those of you who think that that's a bad move on my part, I'm not going to argue with you at all on that. If I would say this, for anybody who lives anywhere around here, if you would like to come to my house, I will make arrangements for you to get your book early. And you can do that on a few certain days in September. We can definitely facilitate that. One last thing I would mention is on the Kickstarter, I never promised, and this I should have mentioned this before, but I just want you to know that I never promised you that you would get your books before anyone else. And I do feel like that is, if I had made the promise that no matter what, if you support the Kickstarter, you'll get the books before everyone else, and then I went and sold them somewhere else, then that would definitely be, I would feel like a breach of trust, a breach of an agreement. But, it is what it is, and I hope that if you're angry, you'll forgive me. And one last thing that I'd like to say, and this doesn't really go to this complaint, but it goes to complaints in general when you're running a business. You know that on my channel, what I mostly like to do is give advice, business advice. And one of the biggest lessons that I've ever learned is that your clients are your boss. Now, when you're working freelance, it's obvious, but your customers are your boss as well. And if you don't make your customers your boss, then you'll eventually die and wither away and never be able to make a living as an artist. And so if you don't, the first thing when you get a complaint, when someone complains about something that you've done personally, it's really hard not to take it personally. That's human nature. And it's not natural to say, wow, I'm really sorry that I offended you. I'm really sorry that I've done something to make you feel bad. That's hard to say. And a lot of people are incapable of that. And a lot of business people that have either tried to be business people or trying to run a business right now, if they don't learn that principle, they're going to fail. Because if you throw it back in your customer's face, then they're never going to buy from you again. And it's possible that some people, if I ran a Kickstarter again, some of the people that supported it would say, I'm not going to support it. You're going to take the product and sell it, and other people will get it before me. So I'll just wait. And if you produce a product, then maybe I'll pick it up if I see you at an event or something. And I get that. I can't argue with that. So I just want to make sure that in this, you understand that no matter what, if someone's complaining about something that you've done, chances are there's at least either all of it, most of it, some of it, or even a little bit is valid. And you need to validate, even if it's a tiny bit right. Don't focus on where you're right. Focus on where they're right. And especially in this case, if it were me, again, I'll reiterate, if it were me in the shoes of this person who complained, I'd feel the same way. I'd feel just like you did. So I can't argue with that at all. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't subscribe unless you want to see more videos like this. And I'll see you on my next video.